Hi, thanks for tuning in to Talk Spirit. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Ginny, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Brandy. She is actually the founder of Jeepers Investigations, and she is also a demonologist. So we're going to bring her on so that she can talk about what it is that she exactly does and what exactly her paranormal group does. All right, let's welcome Brandy. Hi,
Hi,
Brandy.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I know we
Well,
talked in the past and everything. Yeah, but just to recap, I know that you're the founder of Jeepers Investigations and you're also a demonologist. And I know when people hear that word, sometimes it's like, what is that? Like,
wow.
and so, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, just if you could explain to the people watching, listening, what is it exactly that means, and what it is exactly that you do?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It is awesome to see you again. I always love showing up on your podcast. Um, but yeah, so I know the first thing I always tell people about demonology is put Hollywood out of your mind. Everybody likes to they default to your exorcist, your exorcism Emily Roses and your poltergeist and all these things. It's so very rare, guys. Like I have been doing this for a very long time. I got certified probably about 5 years ago in demonology, actually took courses on this, everything. And I'm proud to say, never have I actually ever had to exercise a person in my whole time. Now, I have, however, had to, do a lot of cleansings in homes. This past weekend, actually, we had a manifestation, an 80-year-old man who is ex-military, wall decorated with military things, is calling us like I'm terrified in my own home. So those are the things that I do. Is I come in and I eradicate in a nice way. I will cleanse homes. We cleanse people. We've seen some pretty crazy things. We've probably, I'll talk some more probably about one of the scariest things I've ever seen later on. But it's really about just coming in and helping people who don't feel like they have anybody else to turn to. This older man that we just went to, he said it best, and it really kind of warmed my heart. He said, people think you're crazy when you tell them this stuff. Nobody believes you. They think I'm some crazy old man. And kind of like the Ghostbusters theme, we're ready to believe you. We all have had those experiences. Jenny, I know you have. You yourself, you know what it's like. You talk to the dead. One of my teammates, she does the same thing you do. You've met Ronnie. They
Mhm.
it's very different, the skills we have, but mine tends to lean towards more the spiritual side and helping people on their with things that they feel like they can't turn to anybody else with.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
I was doing a little bit of research about demonologists, and you guys actually study the different types of, like, the D word, the demons and things like that.
Mhm.
And you guys study like the different ones, correct?
We do. I actually I don't have it handy. I wish I did, but I have a paranormal dictionary that's about this thick, full of things. I also have bought the book of the deeds, if you will. That way it classifies them and names them. I never encourage going out and saying these names in any locations, even if you think you have gotten them targeted. You just never ask for what you don't want in some locations.
Yeah.
But there are ways to make them identify themselves so that you don't have to say those words. But you're absolutely right. We do kind of go in and say, okay, do we see poltergeist activity? Do we see activity where we feel like maybe there's an attachment? Because there's levels to demonic possession. It starts
Yeah.
with it starts with that attachment where you're kind of you're just, it's there, but it's not on you too hard. Then you have
Yeah.
the infestation, or excuse me, the oppression, which is where you start really feeling it. And then you have infestation, which is full on demonic possession. Now we have seen it in the
Yeah.
first and second stages. and leading up to that third stage, but a good cleansing and blessing kind of help solve the problem. So luckily, it's never been anything that we haven't been able to handle.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And so you're able to do these cleansings and things like that, or have you ever had to like go to like a priest, or where it just hasn't got to that level where you've needed a priest to like come in?
Oh man. So yeah, actually there when we first started, I never honestly, Jenny, I never sought to be a demonologist. I was actually like, I don't want to like deal with your ghost. I just want to know if you got them. You know, I was not at all prepared for my journey to lead me to this. But I started noticing that people were calling us because they more than just I want to know if there's a ghost in my home. Like, no, I need help, and I don't know what to do. So that led me to starting to do that research you were talking about, and led us to going into these homes and saying, what can we do and how can we identify these and separate them? And when I first started, I learned a lot from a friend of mine who was a Reiki master and also practiced shamanism. And he was about probably like 20 years into his spiritual career, if you want to call it that. He
Yeah.
taught me a lot about how to identify things. He did a lot of helping us on our first investigations. And then he kind of like grandfathered me in and was like, okay, let me show you the ropes. And that kind of opened up my pathway to becoming this demonologist and now I'm kind of more of the one who goes in and is like, all right, what do we got going on here? Let's get this assessed. But it really is a team effort because even though the team's not certified, they are very well trained in how to spot these certain things. So it really is
Yes.
kind of, it's cohesive. It's a very much a team effort. And I feel like being certified in demonology just kind of for me personally, gives our clients a little bit more peace of mind. Like I'm not just some guy off the street. I got a certificate I can show you. I took classes on this stuff. I studied from some people that have graduated from, the what was it? The Psychic Research Center there in England. Like these people are with it. They know their stuff. So,
Yeah.
mhm. It's been a very
Yeah. Yeah.
journey.
I've actually undergone psychic development and things like that under some people that have went to the schooling over in England as well. That's crazy.
Yep. Yep. You know
Yeah.
the one. It's
So
awesome. Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. Um, what about when we say like attachments? Do you mean like attachments to objects or things like that? Because
Hmm.
there's those things that people talk about, like certain things can hold an energy. And my belief is that spaces and places can hold residue energy is what I a lot of times I pick up of an event that keeps replaying itself in the same location. I mean, that's something I've personally come across in some, and I do go to haunted locations, and as you would call it, I don't know if you've seen, but I do, and I've noticed sometimes I will see an event replaying itself in a location.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's an interesting thing.
It is.
But
It
what
very.
about objects? Like
Mhm.
objects, things like I'm kind of weird about thrifting a little bit. And I tell people to be careful with the things that you thrift because everything holds energy. Everything. So you can tell me your take on it, but
Mhm. No,
yeah.
yep, no, I will tell you, Jenny, I agree. We like to call it the stone tape theory. It is a real thing that I have studied myself because there is a difference in hauntings. There are intellectual hauntings and there are residual. Residual is what you see in like Gettysburg, in those locations that you were talking about, those playing on a loop you see in certain environments and certain things trigger those things sometimes, environments, anniversaries, things like that, and you'll see them start playing out. Intellectual, they know more about what they're doing. Like, oh, I see Ginny over here. I'm gonna go pull her hair or photobomb her picture, or things like that. They're gonna make themselves known, and they know what they're doing. The stone tape
Yeah.
theory, though, helps explain those residual hauntings, where you're exactly right. our environment is like one big tape recorder. So the environment will take on the energy of what happened in that area. So Gettysburg, was a big battle. A lot of bad things happened there, and people suddenly lost their lives without ever knowing it happened. And so that
Yeah.
energy is trapped in that location, and it, absolutely somebody comes along and hits the play button, and we see it all play out before us. So yes,
Yeah.
things can also be haunted, I believe. I've not seen too many of them personally, but I have seen, a lot of evidence that does suggest things can be haunted. I would say very much use your instinct on that. You don't, not all of us are very sensitive to the point where we are aware of it, but you still know when you walk into a location and your hair stands up on the back of your neck, or you touch that object and you're like, that just creeps me out. Use your best judgment. If you think something might not feel good, or if you think that's absolutely haunted, that probably is absolutely haunted. Yep. Yep. Seen it before.
um I remember me and my partner at the time were in Las Vegas, and what's his name, the Zach Baggin, whatever
Oh
his
yeah.
name is,
Mm-hmm.
has that museum out there. So I was like, this somebody told me that they had went there, and I mean, I don't know, but I had went down this whole like storyline of people that went there,
Mm-hmm.
and things start happening really crazy in their lives after visiting this museum. I personally did not go in there,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard through other people and through a client of mine who went in there all of these like crazy things that was happening, like getting into car accidents, like,
Mm-hmm.
like weird stuff happening in their hotel rooms after they leave and things like that. I mean, I don't know how true it is. I mean, I take what some people say with a grain of salt, because I think sometimes people like manifest things like being fearful, so, or maybe they like misinterpret the spirit world sometimes. That's something I always run into is people be like, "Oh, my lights are flickering. Oh no, it's a demon." No, it's probably your loved ones. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably your loved ones. It's not always what we think it is. So, uh,
Exactly.
but what is your take on people going to a certain place? And I can kind of share an experience similar to that. And then leaving the place and having like something weird kind of happen after they leave.
Sure. Oh yeah. So more than the weirdness happening afterward, I have had actual physical attacks happen in around me, and weird things happened in sync there. So I'll try to make it kind of quick here. There was one time a few years ago, probably about 2019, 2020. We went to a location here called Old Bryce. It was an asylum. It was one of the first ones for African Americans in Alabama. Now, if you know anything about Alabama, that's a big deal. They had them sleeping in barns before this. So someone dedicated or donated the land. It was actually Native American land. Then there was a plantation home. The plantation owner donated it. It became the new insane asylum for the African Americans back in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s.
Yeah.
So we go in there with about maybe 5 or 6 other paranormal teams, and it's a massive place covering a lot of ground. So we all split up, and we are all with our walkie-talkies so we can keep in contact. Um, so if some friends of ours walk in and they're like, hey, we just saw some real suspicious characters leaving this place. Now keep in mind, it's like 2 a.m. and this place is very overgrown, very much in the woods. So we were like, okay, we're all going to come get together, safety in numbers. So we get there and we're walking around to make sure everything's okay. These people apparently must have left, but while we were there, and it killed me. These people, one of the groups we were with, started provoking the spirits in this place. So to me, that is no different than you walking into somebody's house and insulting their family member or them right to their face. You just don't go to these locations and start demanding things and say, hey, if you're here, push me in. You're not going to do anything to me because you might get what you don't want, or somebody else around you could get that because they are now you're
Yeah.
mad, which is exactly what happened. So I'm like, I'm removing myself from this situation because I do not agree with what you're doing. I'll be over here. So me and another teammate, well, it's not my team, but a fellow paranormal investigator from another team are walking along. Now, this is a large man. He's about maybe 250, 260, very big, stout man. And he's walking, and I'm walking kind of in front of him. And all of a sudden, this man flies past me like his behind was on fire. And he just hits the ground. And he's like, oh my gosh, my back is burning. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a paranormal investigator. I turn around first before I ask this man if he's okay. I start snapping pictures. It does.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I start snapping pictures to find out what just pushed this man. And then we help him up. And he's like, oh, my back is burning. So he had a big handprint on his back. And this is also, he was with a team that was doing the provoking. And I later found, I'll have to make sure I send you this picture, Jenny. I didn't have it with me today, but I turned around and there's a picture of it. Looks like a little girl in a blue, like older style dress, like you would see on a plantation, maybe just kind of peeking around the
Yeah.
corner, brown hair. And I'm like, awesome. So we get him outside, and my Ronnie and I, we get over him, and I'm like, look, I don't know what just happened to you, but he was like, I feel sick to my stomach. He started having a lot of very not good signs. I'm sick to my stomach. My head hurts. Like my head's spinning. I feel dizzy. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened to you in there, but grab the sage, grab the holy water. Ronnie's mom was an actual priest or preacher, excuse me. And she went to Jerusalem and has Jerusalem holy water and holy oil. And we kind of take it with us sometimes if we need it.
Yeah.
One time and we have ever busted it out, but we tried to get it and like get near him with the sage and all this. And he told us, and I quote you, Jenny, y'all are too bright. I can't look at you. And I was like, it is 2 a.m. There's no lights on. The people around us have flashlights, but we're like, our hands are busy. We don't have lights. We're not in his face with lights. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know, but I just don't touch me. Don't touch me. So he started having things happen a little bit. Like, well, I guess it did happen afterward. He started having things happen. Family started falling
Yeah.
apart. Lost his job. His car broke down. His house started going into like disrepair. Things just happening left and right. So my friend that I told you about, his name's Danny. He was the one who was a shaman and the Reiki master. We got him involved, and we're like, hey, we need you to go to his house. And he was like, oh, he picked up something serious at this location. I don't know what he did, who he made mad, but he absolutely picked up something. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. He never did really change his paranormal ways. And to this day, that guy still has a lot of trouble. So very much be careful with how
Mm.
you do at your locations, what you do, and how you treat these spirits, because they don't forget.
I think it's about having respect, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And going into a place with respect. So, yeah.
It is.
I was, yeah, back in October, I was at Glen Tavern Inn, and it's a hotel that has a lot of history of, you know, murder and different things like that that had happened at that hotel. And so we were leaving. We ended up not not staying the night there. And only because, not because I was like scared to stay the night there, but
Mhm.
because I am a medium and I was going to be sleeping on this third floor and I needed to get rest because I was actually doing readings at this location for, they were doing paranormal tours, right?
Mhm.
For outside people to learn to investigate areas, right? So they like teach people how to come in and do these investigations like regular people off the street. It's a really cool thing, actually.
Yeah.
It gives people that experience to go in and do that. So it's
Mhm.
really amazing thing that they do. Um, but I decided I'm not going to sleep here because you know it's too active for me. I need to get rest. Like I need to actually sleep. So I was like, I'm gonna just drive back to, my town, right? So it wasn't like too far. So probably like 45 minutes or so. So I think it was the first night we were driving back, I kid you not, and all of a sudden all of my tire pressures went low on all of my tires. Like they didn't want me to leave. And I was like this road, there's not like a lot like going out here. So like, coming back. So finally, whatever, we put air back, which was so weird too. It was the weirdest thing. And we stopped and we put the air in the tires or whatever. What was it that night? No, we couldn't even find the place that we went. Like their air machine was out. Like it was the craziest thing. We couldn't get air until the next day. I have like these run flats on my car, so I was like, all right, it'll probably be fine, So we made it back to my house, and the next day we put the air in the tires and stuff.
Mhm.
But it wasn't one tire, it was all the tires. Yeah. Yeah, they were all low, like very low, like not like flat, but like low to set off the warning lights in the car. So it was very bizarre. And I was telling you I wanted to show you this picture because I'm going to put it up, but um when I was there, my partner was taking pictures of me, and he's not like a believer, like he's kind of in and out with it, right? So
Yep.
he's the one taking the pictures with his phone. So when he starts to see like things happening with the pictures, he's like, "Mm, what's going on?" But I'm going to show the picture on the screen for you to see. And you'll be able to see there's like a man's face like attached to me. Watch, hold on. Let me see. Now, mind you, you can see it, right?
Let me look over here. Let me brighten up my screen.
All right. It's a
Always.
very blurry picture, but look in the area below my chin. Mind you, he said he was,
Yes.
it's like he's smiling and he's in this area.
You can see the bridge of his nose, the eyes, the cheekbones, a mouth,
Maybe like
chin.
a beard or something.
It's either, I didn't know if that was shadow or if it's a beard, but you can clearly see like it's like a right here.
And my partner was like, I was not moving my phone. That whole thing blurred.
And I mean, looking at the background, also, there's just these spots that are like, why does it look like that? You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, it looks like the light is a
That's
little
the hotel. That's the hotel. Yeah.
wow. See, we have some pictures that end up like this too, and you're like, "What? I'm standing totally still." We do those back to backs. We're making sure. It's amazing what they can do with your electronics, buddy. That's what they always
Yeah.
go for. They love their
Yeah.
electronics.
So he photobombed me, but I
Oh
wasn't like
God.
scared. I wasn't like scared of it. But my partner's like, oh no, you got something attached to you or whatever. He's like, he was kind of creeped out, right? I'm like, I'm fine, dude. So, I'm like you. I put on the holy water, like I wear it like it's perfume. I'm like,
Drinking a
like
little,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
telling you, we
yeah,
go all the way protected. You never know what you're going to run into. Better safe than sorry.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I feel like whatever it was, like didn't want me to leave that night. And yeah, so I don't know, but it was a little weird, but yeah. And my partner, he also went like walking around the outside exploring, and he heard like knocking from one of the windows upstairs. Mind you, nobody's up there because at that time, I don't think, yeah, the tours had not started. So it was just weird things that kept happening, So,
Oh my God.
yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. This hotel is crazy. And I've been to some other places too that are really active, like the Queen Mary, and a few other locations as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty interesting. But yeah. So, but I don't know. I just didn't get a bad vibe from like that whole thing. It just didn't. I was just like, yeah, whatever. He must have liked me. Like,
Yep. I always say like moth to a flame, I feel like they see you guys that, you guys that are sensitive or psychic, and they're like, oh my gosh, she can hear me. Oh, finally somebody who understands. And they just go talk their ears off. Ronnie has the
that's
same problem. She can't sleep
that's
at
how.
night.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like sometimes I have to like sleep with some type of light on in my room, like
Hmm.
something, because it's like it will startle me when I wake up and see weird things. But I've learned more so to shut it on and off and not to allow it to take over my everyday. So I've learned to control the ability so that way I'm not sitting, at an event where there's all these people and now I got everybody's, past loved ones coming in, right? So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, we have to do that too. Ronnie does the same thing. She's like, nope, not today, everybody. Like, y'all have to step back. Last weekend was very busy. I think we ended up with about 9 people, all told, strangers, people that we knew we were going to, that she ended up doing. I'm like, you're off for the rest of the month. Like, no more for you. You're done, kid. Go shut off. Go take a bath and like surround.
Yeah.
Get in
It
your
can
bubble.
be, yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be energetically draining. I do it for my full profession. And sometimes people don't understand that, like, after a day of readings and channeling, I can only do so many in a day. So when clients call me and say, "Oh, can you squeeze me in?" Absolutely not. I can't squeeze you in. Like I've overdone myself. So no. Yeah. So
It
I
is.
understand.
It
So the
is
purpose
exhausting.
of you guys's group is to help individuals like who are having issues like in their home, their businesses, and just personally, right? Like to go
Absolutely.
in and to help them.
It is,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Thank you, thank you. Yes. Well, really, it started out, like I said. I mean, it started out, to be honest with you, a group of friends who were like, I just wonder. We had an abandoned fort over here that was just wide open, with like the barracks are wide open, and come to find out, we heard some stories about basically like involuntary human research over there. They literally pumped viscous gases into the to the classes of some students that were going to, it's a chemical core. If you ever heard of Fort McClellan, it's in Alabama. It was a chemical core school, and that's where they tested chemicals. Well, unbeknownst to some of the people that were there on base, they were pumping this stuff through the air vents and starting to test it on people just to see what would happen if nobody knew. They're our property, we could do that. Very bad stuff happened with that. A lot of people got sick, and still to this day get sick. um, but we were in some of those barracks just kind of messing around, and we got activity, and we were like, okay, that started the addiction. We got it in our veins, and from there it was like we got our first residential. Somebody called us like, hey, do you guys come to people's houses, or do you just go to locations? And I'm like, guess we could come by if you need
Mhm.
me. And then from there, it was like we noticed people were like, it was a big old group of people were like, I didn't know where to turn. I tried talking to people. They're telling me to pray, but prayer sometimes it didn't work by itself. And I still have these questions. Honey, don't be scared. That's just your mom. That's why, I mean, don't pray away your mom. She's just in there rattling dishes because she was making you dinner. It's nothing to be scared
Yeah.
of. And so a lot of people, we've helped them make that peace with their ghosts or their, their spirits that they may live with, or even we've helped a few past, that were kind of in the side and they couldn't pass on. They didn't know where to go. We feel like we've helped them out a lot too. I kept touch with just this past weekend, the gentleman, he did message me and he was like, I just can't thank you enough because I didn't know where to go. And ever since you came by, everything's been a lot better here. All we did was we smudged a little, we sat with them and we talked with them and we listened to them and we told them, just keep your vibe positive, how to keep their environment. The energy you give out is the energy that you're going to put into your environment. So, if you're always
Yeah.
fighting and you're always going at each other, your home is going to feel like a negative space. So fill your home with laughter,
Yeah.
fill it with love, keep it clean, and you will feel good in your environment. And it's all about that
Yeah.
belief and manifesting that good energy. Easy
Yeah.
enough. Yep.
I know you were talking about holy water and things like that. So
Mhm.
you do believe in tools or things that can help cleanse, like smudging. Um, Me personally, I like to use Florida water. That's another one that I love to use. So is there any other stuff that you would just recommend? Just smudging, holy water?
Mhm.
Basically, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions with the smudging because some people are like open the windows. That's the way I like to do it.
Mhm.
So I don't know if if you would be like, this is the proper way, to do this, or
Sure.
um
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of people before, and it feels like such a simple answer, but it's really on my heart. So I believe in the power of belief. If you believe that it works, that's what makes it work.
I
It's
love
just,
that. I wish, yeah,
yeah. I mean, honestly, if you
the
think about it,
intention.
yeah, go ahead.
No, the intention that you put into something. Yeah, yeah. I was just having this conversation with someone about manifesting, and yeah,
Yes. Oh, that's so funny because it was just this past week, same thing. I got into the same type of conversation and they were asking me about why does smudging work? I'm like, well, which side do you want to hear? You want to hear the spiritual side or the medical side? Because there are actual medicinal properties in sage. They have been, I mean, it's shown to help promote sleep. It helps it relieve depression, burning the sage or even just the sage oils. It does have actual scientifically proven medicinal properties. But also, if you look across all these cultures, all these religions, and all across time, majority of these people have used sage. So for me, I'm like, there's got to be something to it. For me, I believe that's for me why it works. Um,
yeah,
some people like to use different, sweetgrass, or they may like cedar versus sage because they like the smell, or rosemary or lavender. I say there's no wrong way to smudge. If you feel afterward, while you're smudging, put your good energy into it. I'm inviting love and light only. If anybody is here that means me ill intent, I kindly ask you to leave. I never demand anything
yeah,
because I don't feel like that's how you get anywhere. It's kind of more of a compromise. Hey, man, you can't be here. We're closed. You can check out the bar down the street. Closing time.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So, and I believe it's all about the energy you give. And I go in with a mindset of wanting to help people. And I feel like for me, I think that's why it works because my intention is that I want you to feel safe in your own home. And I want you and your family to feel good when you walk into your home. And I want this a place of love and light. So that's what I go in and I put in. And then I always
yeah,
hear feedback. I check in every time. I check in the next day, if not a few days in. How is everything? How's the family? Are you guys okay? And they're always like, oh man, it's so much better. And I tell them, just keep it up. You can do everything I do. There's nothing to it. And I used to
yeah.
think, I'll be honest with you. I used to think demonology was like this great, Sam and Dean Winchester type of situation. And it's really actually not that
It gives
hard.
me the vibe of demonology gives me the vibe of the demon slayer, like
It sounds way cooler than what it really is. But no, I mean, I will be honest. Like, luckily, I've never had to pull it out where I've had to go in and like pull out the big guns and had to get the rosaries and all of
Yeah.
the priests involved. So I really can't say that fairly. It's, it does have some scary moments. But really, it's more
Yeah.
just, it's about just teaching people and things like the smudging techniques and helping them become more comfortable in what they do, in their own home. Like, this is nothing that you guys can't do too, to help make your home feel good for you. Yep. No wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Me personally, I haven't really experienced anything bad. And, I'm a big worker with Archangel Michael. So that
Hmm.
could be why. Um, I feel like I just don't like, even when I go into these like paranormal locations, I know I was at one place and this guy, like you were saying, the provoking and getting like, scratched and stuff. I feel like when you go into a place kind of like ungrounded and, just kind of airy and like, I can't really, I don't know the right word for it, but you know what I'm talking about? They're just in there playing around, or they're like, provoking, like you said,
Hmm.
oh, do this or do that, and, um, you know, I feel like these people will get um, a different reaction or a different side of the spiritual realm than I will. I just personally don't like, I just don't ever encounter that part of it, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know why that is. I think maybe it is the level of protection that I do always surround myself with, and really, really, I work with Archangel Michael so closely, like very, very closely with everything that I do. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And also, I don't have that fear of like lower entities as well.
Hmm.
Um, I I just don't have a lot of fear when it comes to those things. So I don't know. It's weird, but I just don't encounter like that side. You know what I mean?
I do 100% because I thought it was just me. I'm like, I thought that, honestly, I thought when I got into this field, demons would be a bigger problem for us. I mean, I thought we were going to run into a lot more bad stuff than we do. Really, I mean, like I said, there's been so few terrible things, and I'm like maybe that's because when I go in, I'm going in, like you said, without that fear, because I know who I'm working with. I know what I'm working with, and I go in with
Right?
that respect of not only the location that I'm going to, but the spirits, because really 9 times out of 10, it's just like walking into somebody's home. Treat the spirits as if they were still here, because they are in death a lot like they were in life. If they were
Yeah.
jokesters in life, they're probably going to mess with you a little in death, and you just kind of joke with them. If they were
I
very,
I I experienced that as a medium. They will
Mhm.
come through with those same personalities a lot of times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you just act accordingly, read the room, pick up the vibe, know your location before you go in there, talk to people that have been in there, or learn the history. And learning the history will give you a great insight into the way that these spirits may feel. So if I go into a location where, like the asylum there, I kind of can assume that these people probably didn't have it so great, because this is, Alabama circa 1850 something. Got to assume that you guys probably weren't treated the best. So I'm going in with a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding for your situation, and trying to empathize with what did you go through when you in your life. Is that holding you here?
Yeah.
And are you angry for that? And I understand being angry. And sometimes that's all these
Yeah.
spirits want. You think, I've had a lot of people think that they had demons or attachments, when it's not even that. It's just the spirit that lived in this house was not treated very well in life. And now they're
Yeah.
they're not feeling so good about that. They're angry. So let's get on their level and talk to them and say, hey, I understand. I'm here for you. And a lot of times I've noticed that alone is all that it took to make the house feel a lot better. And the spirit no longer is, if they're there, they're dormant, or they're at least not being as aggressive as they were once being. Um, And
Yeah.
Ronnie's even come across a few people where she's done readings for them and they're like, oh, I got scratched last night. It's like, oh, yeah, see, here's the thing. They didn't mean to scratch you. They were just trying to get your attention. So sometimes we've seen that, you'll feel like
Yeah.
you're being attacked. And it's like, no, I've tried everything else to get your attention. I've thrown things at you, flickered your lights. You're not listening. So I got your attention by sitting on your bed or, pushing on your chest or, whatever the case may be. And she's seen that before and said, okay, now that you're listening, they'll stop. And they did, no more scratches, no more, attacks, as it were. So yeah, you really just paying attention to your surroundings and the vibe of the environment and talking to your people, even though they're not physically there, like you and I are having a conversation, we still are able to have the conversation, even though we're not in person.
Yes,
We're here,
yes,
just in a different way.
100%.
Yep.
Yes, yes. Your loved ones in spirit hear you.
Yep.
They do.
They
They
do
do.
all the
All of
time.
the spirits hear you. Yes, yes.
Yep.
Um, I think one of the biggest controversial things, this is something I would like to bring up, is Ouija boards. What is your take on them? How do you feel about them? I personally don't use them, but it's because I just don't prefer. And I just don't feel connected to them. So, it's just, no, I don't.
Right. No, so I have a lot of people ask me that. So I'll start by saying, so first of all, my grandmother gave me my first Ouija board at 13 years old. So I'm from a little bit of a long line of weirdos in that respect. And up until she
No,
passed away recently, she had a Ouija board and she would call me like, oh, I talked to your grandpa last night. I'm like, Grandma, listen, did you close your board? Well, yeah, like my grandmother was a big user of the board. At 80 something years old, she loved it. Used it up to the day she died. And when she passed, I was like, I'm getting grandma's Ouija board, and it now just sits in my office. I don't use them myself anymore because number one, I believe too much of human influence. So I don't like a lot of human gadgets in my investigations because I just know humans and their instincts to want to find that evidence so much that I might take my dowsing rods and oopsie, they crossed. Or I might take that
yeah,
pendulum and swing it a little. I just don't like to use human influence tools in my investigations. And I feel like Ouija boards are one of those. Ronnie absolutely will not go to a location with Ouija boards just because of her sensitivity and her gifts. She feels like it is just a little bit of a cracked door in some ways. Some people might not use them for good. Some people might use them for trying to see if they can, just want to see if I can call up the dark forces. And lo and behold, you did. And now we all got a problem.
yeah.
And here we come to cleanse your home again. So she doesn't like them for her own reasons. I personally am not bothered by them. I will tell people, if you're going to use them, just be smart. Open your boards with a hello and close your boards with a goodbye. Be mindful of your intentions while you're using your board. And, other than that, it's really no different than, say, like using tarot cards to maybe for
I was
divination.
just going to say that. I have a deck of cards literally right here.
Got a couple decks that I love.
you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, it's no
So,
different than divination. You just being respectful of the spirit and the tools that you're using. Just like a gun, you don't go flailing a gun around when it's loaded and pointing it at people. Be mindful of your
yeah.
tools and the investigations and the
I think
paranormal.
it's to treat things as respect and things like that.
Absolutely,
So, yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Me, I just don't care for them. I just, I don't know. I just don't like have like it's like certain tarot cards that are on my desk. I prefer
Mhm,
to use over some that are on my shelf. I
mhm.
don't feel that connection to them versus, this one. This is one of my day one decks. It's about had it, but it's
Well,
we're connected. We're
yes.
connected. Like, right? We are connected, me and that deck.
Hmm.
And that deck has really like been on my journey with me this entire time. It's one of the first decks I started, learning to read from and things like that. And I can't even believe it's still holding up. I've lost the box to it and everything, but it's still holding there. But yeah, I love to use tarot in my psychic readings because it gives
Mhm.
me like a picture to kind of give me the evidence that I like. Because with the mediumship, I have that person able to give me the validation that what's coming through is real. So when I do psychic readings, although I can do a psychic reading without the tarot, I like the tarot because it gives me like it's like it'll be in my mind and then I'll see it. I'm like, okay, like what I'm getting is real. Like what is coming through. So this is going to happen for this person and this is going to happen, and it kind of gives me that evidence there. I'm very evidence based. Like I need evidence for things. Like my readings, like everything I need to have that validation and evidence from people come through. Because I always say, yeah, I can sit here and be like, oh, hot Brandy, your grandmother loved you so much, and there was so much, care for you. Anybody can say that, but there has to be like there
Well, one
has to
has
be
to be
some
a guy.
sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be more evidence to it than just that, right?
Mhm.
And that is what I base things on. And I'm assuming that's how it is for investigations. You guys need, that's why it's like a team. It's like a team effort thing because it's like everybody kind of working together and picking up things and and then you have your expertise, to rule out, okay, it's not feeling like it's these things, these negative things. So let's move to something else. So there's the evidence you guys use. I know you guys use like the bears and the different things that you know can alert you that
Mhm.
spirits are there. So yeah, and the spirit boxes and all of those are so real too. Like they're
Wild. Wildly
yeah.
real. Yes. Oh, we've been on investigations where we've had the spirit box rocking and rolling or the ovulus, and people were like, oh my gosh, that was Johnny. Like that was his voice. And that's exactly what he used to say all the time. I mean, how can I tell them that they're wrong? I don't know. I didn't know Johnny, you did. So I'm going with that's pretty darn good evidence, pretty good validation. And same
Yeah.
thing, Ronnie, like you, Ronnie will write down things before we go to an investigation. Like, I don't know why, but I'm seeing a Raggedy Ann doll on a bike on Christmas Eve, and I'm seeing a stocking over. I mean, like some oddly specific stuff that doesn't matter. But for these people, it's a validation. It's like, I'm just telling you she's real and I'm okay. Trust the woman when she said I'm all right, and yeah, like the tarot cards, I agree with that. Where I can see you coming in and you flip a card and you're getting like this visual image to go along with the vibe that you're getting or what the spirit's telling you. And just like some people
Yeah.
to draw and they need to draw what their
I
mind.
draw during mediumship. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool to see the different ways that you're able to come through and get your information too. I love that because the research in me is like, write that down.
Yeah.
Write it
Yeah.
down. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Is there any last things that you would like to leave people with, as far as, you know, how to handle, let's say they got weird
Mhm.
stuff going on in their homes, or, like what would be some advice you would like to leave people with of how to like deal with these things? Or not everyone, has access to get a paranormal group to come out. Some people don't have that access.
Absolutely. So I will say, I believe it is called paranormalsocieties.org, is the website, but there is a website out there that does have a list. It's basically like a yellow pages of free paranormal teams. First and
Oh,
foremost, if
wow.
a paranormal team ever charges you, please be scrupulous and please beware. Most teams who are in this for the right reasons will never charge you. Our team does. We take donations, but I'll be honest with you, more often than not, we turn them down because we we all work full-time jobs. We're okay. We do this because we want to. And we will turn people's donations down. Just thank you for having us. Give us a review, and that's all we ask for. Tell your friends if they need us. So check
Yeah.
out paranormalsocieties.org. Some great teams on there. But I will say, if you can't get a team, just know that like, you are absolutely in charge of your domain, because it's your domain now. Keep that in mind. And it's
Yeah.
all about your mindset. Believe that it works. Baby, if you believe your lucky socks keep you protected, they absolutely freaking do. Okay? Put them lucky socks
But
on, holes and all. I got a pair of lucky socks that I investigated, and I would be lying if I said I didn't. I got about 2 pair. My first pair is real raggedy, kind of like your tarot cards. I refuse to throw them away. But know that you can absolutely do it, and it is the power of belief. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian and you get your cross, if you are Wiccan and you do a spell, if you're a Catholic and you grab your rosary, anything you can think of, do it if it feels right. If your grandmother gave you a necklace and wearing that necklace makes you feel like she's with you, she absolutely will be. I'm telling you, man, the laws of attraction are very real. I have studied them extensively. Studied a lot of physics in my time. I've studied a lot of the paranormal and stuff that goes along with it. You can absolutely manifest things. And you can also
yes.
manifest the ability to protect yourself and to have that spiritual bubble around yourself, and know that you can smudge, you can use spray. There's a lot of great sage sprays. If you don't like sage, you can use things like rosemary, lavender. There's no wrong way, for me personally, just other than believe in it. If you believe
Yeah.
it works, it absolutely works. You just got to put your belief and your intention behind it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this with us today. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that.
Thank you, Jenny. It was awesome talking to you. I always love our conversations. I always love your podcast. And I've been keeping up with you. I'm seeing you out there. I'm watching you at these hotels, and I'm definitely watching your pictures because I know they're always around you. Looking for
For
that
sure.
every.
For sure, for sure. They're always up to something around me. Like I always say, every house I live in is going to be haunted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, girl, you are a candle and they are moths. They will find you every single time.
Every house I live in will be haunted. It doesn't matter.
Everywhere I
Just live
go.
with them. It's okay. I just live with them. It's fine. It's totally fine.
It's
But
always something
anyways,
you gotta watch out for anyway.
yeah. But I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. And again, thank you so much. And as always, you guys can book your experience with me at psychicmediumjenny.com. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to close us out. Okay. Bye.